Good afternoon, Quilt Roadies. Thank you for stopping by. I just want to let you know up front that this episode is being sponsored by the Fat Quarter Shop. They have generously offered a $50 gift card to their website. So stay tuned till the end because we'll give you all the details on what you need to do to be entered for that gift card. So hang in there. So in the meantime, I have a ton of things to share with you, and one of them is what I did last weekend. That's what I have to share with you. First of all, what I did last weekend. I had a couple of friends from my original Fabric Stalkers group. We have quilted together for 30 plus years, and so there's a lot of history there, made up of doctors and nurses who worked together back in the day. And pretty much all of us are retired now. Oh, thank goodness, huh? Thank goodness. But two of the Fabric Stalkers came for the weekend. Mainly, I know that they probably came because they just missed me horribly. But I suspect it was because of Pioneer Quilt's yard sale. Last weekend was an amazing yard sale. So I've talked many times about Pioneer Quilts. It's a bucket list quilt shop in Portland. It's on a historic farm in the middle of town with heritage trees growing on the property. The shop itself is just filled with glorious, glorious things. And I go there for also twice a month for a stitch group with friends to just stitch up. But once a year, Pioneer Quilts has a yard sale in which quilters can rent a table and sell their quilt room stuff. Yes, it's a giant yard sale. I think it gets bigger and better every year, and this year was not disappointing at all. There was so much offered there, and plus you can go into the shop and shop too. But the way it works is that they announce when the yard sale is going to be every year. You have to get onto their newsletter site, and then you can rent a table and bring whatever you want to pass on from your own sewing room. It was hysterical because the very first booth, I just had to laugh at us quilters. Yeah, there's no one of us that's better than the other. Our brains all kind of sync a lot in the same way. So the very first booth, this woman had in her booth just mountains of scraps of fabrics, like you made quilts and it's leftover scraps. Not big scraps, like she had half yard and yard things rolled into bundles, but these were the scraps. And then she had brown paper bags, and you could stuff that bag for $1. And there was my girlfriend stuffing a bag. Yep. One quilter's scraps are another quilter's quilts. And they were picking them out like, not just grabbing and... No, they were fondling each little scrap. It was hysterical. We are an interesting group of quilters. Yeah. It was an awesome sale. There was such a wide variety. I swear it gets bigger every year. It gets bigger every year. But we had a wonderful time at the sale. And then from there, we went to Acorns and Threads, which is a cross-stitch shop in Portland also. And we did a lot of looking there too. It was just a fun day. But the highlight for me was one of my girlfriends she has that ability to figure out a problem. You know, like there's four of them in my quilt group that sew those Judy Niemeyer quilts. And that's because they have that brain that's going to know how to do that flipping and what that all means, what the code is. They have broken the Judy Niemeyer code, let me just say. And so I had found in my chaos when I was looking for something, because I obviously was looking for something very important. I can't remember what that was, but I found this typewritten, it was a typewritten instructions dated January 9th, 2001. Yeah, a while ago. But all that was included with these instructions was this, all frayed, this, and this. And I immediately knew that my girlfriend was going to be able to figure out how to make this, because I had decided that it was so clever and used scraps that I was going to be able to make some table gifts, because I have a lot of scraps. But I read the instructions and I couldn't quite, process it. It was like I needed to constantly reboot and go, what? The bottom piece use a not so pretty piece? What the heck? Sure enough, she knew how. She could decipher what this jibber jabber was. And so I started making my coasters. These are for coasters. So at first I was making exactly the size that this typewritten paper, and it's so funny because I know the email address was so long ago that doesn't even exist as an email provider. But I wanted to make coasters for my Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit, which there are still there's just a handful of spaces available at that cross-stitch event in Portland. So if you're a cross-stitcher out there, and the Zoom event has just a handful of spaces left. So if you're at all interested in that, give Acorns and Threads a call. But I wanted to make some table gifts, and I thought these are perfect little coasters, that you set your drink on. And they're cute, and they use up scraps. And so at the beginning, I started making, as the instructions said, 4.5-inch, cutting squares out of 4.5-inch. And then I put my label on the back. But then I started thinking, my girlfriend Lori and I, who we were both in the Fabric Stalkers, were quite collectors of 5-inch charm packs. Yeah, it kind of made us feel good that we got a whole line of fabric for the price of a charm pack. Although, what were we going to do with those charm packs? Yeah, we bought a gazillion table runner patterns. But then I thought, couldn't I make them out of 5.5-inch squares that were already cut in those charm packs? Couldn't I get my charm packs out and really do it? And I did. And so, and then both of the girlfriends that were here said the bigger ones are better for them because they use big mugs. So look at this. Isn't that cute? I had so much fun making these. It was just so much fun. So here's a question for you. If there are enough people interested for me to set up a camera, a tutorial camera, interested in learning how to make these, in the comments, just say yes to the tutorial. Yes to the tutorial. And if there's enough people that want to see a tutorial on how to make these, then I will do it step by step for you. Because I just think they're adorable. And you could make them for your quilt retreats, your quilt groups. You could make matching. Oh, look at this. I just have to show you. I had so much fun with my scraps. French General. Here's the back. Isn't that pretty? French General. Here's some bee ones. Yeah. It was just so fun. Which led me to do another massive cutting, in that I found a whole bag of scraps. You know, when you have girlfriends digging around your quilt room, stuff turns up that it's like stuff in your drawers and closets are going, look at me, look at me. Yeah. So I found a whole bag of bee fabrics that were just scraps. It was left over from a quilt I made. So I cut them all up into 5.5-inch squares so I could make more of those coasters, because now I'm like possessed. I am coaster possessed. Yeah, see? Here's all these scraps. I can make all kinds of coasters. I will provide coasters for the whole country. The day before the Pioneer garage yard sale, one of my girlfriends came up a day earlier, and I took her to Cedar Ridge Quilt Shop, which is another fabulous shop located in Oregon City. And if you visit these shops, just let them know where you heard about it, because it allows shops to feel comfortable with you coming in and taking pictures or asking them questions, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I took her to Cedar Ridge, which has a little bit of everything. I would be shocked if you didn't find anything in there. She has a nice collection of Judy Niemeyer, Laura Heine, Crabapple Hill patterns still, Sue Spargo, all kinds of Civil War. It really has a nice selection of fabrics. And I was looking for a red fabric, because, as you know, I found 2 huge piles of hexies and could not find, I had a vague memory. I didn't remember cutting these out, but I had a vague memory that I cut them out. I must have cut them out because they're 2 huge piles. And I remembered that I did make a I Spy quilt years ago, and and these were still, there's enough here for a whole nother quilt. But I wanted a red fabric, a red setting fabric. So I found it at Cedar Ridge Quilt Shop. And this fabric is a Timeless Treasures fabric of Soho. In the original quilt, I used a solid red. I thought this was going to be so much more fun. And it has a tiny, it looks almost orange on here, but it has little tiny red dots on a darker background. So that is going to be fun. That is going to be fun to use for this quilt. I have continued, you know, there's piles of these 30s things that I showed you that I found. I couldn't figure out how I was going to put this together. I didn't want to lay it out on a design wall and make myself crazy, spending, you know, a couple months rearranging this this, I know you're screaming it at me, tumbling blocks. Tumbling block with this tumbling block, or maybe I should use this tumbling block. You know, I didn't want to do that. So I just piled all of the tumbling blocks on the sewing table, and I decided to sew them in groups of 10. And once I got them all sewed together, then I would decide whether to lay them out or what to make out of them. I'm thinking that I want to make one of the groups I want to make a bag out of, because I love this project bag that's made out of these old fabrics, you know, so pretty. I don't have the tag. Is there, oh, here it is. I should have known. This was made by my friend Chris Yo. Yes, Creative Creations by Chris. She has an Etsy and an Instagram. Oh, see, I just love this bag. And it has that old feel to it. And so I thought, maybe if there's ones left over when I put a little quilt together, I can, like a doll quilt or something, I can make a bag out of it. But I just started sewing them randomly in groups of 10. So I have this big pile now, you know. And I still have lots to sew together. Lots to sew together. Yeah. And that's what I'm currently doing, is just sewing these tumbling blocks together. I did end up, oh, and here's the, oops. Here's the templates for the I Spy. So this is the I Spy template. It's, read it right, from Marty Mitchell. Yeah, Marty Mitchell template. And then it has the, setting triangle. So that will be, the setting triangles will be out of this red fabric. Okay. So back to the garage sale, yard sale at Pioneer Quilts. I did buy 2 pieces there, and 1 yard, couldn't pass it up, 1 yard for $5 is that bees on, gonna focus. Yeah, there we go. And then I saw this panel, It was so fun. So, sisters, blessed are they which do hunger, for they shall be filled. It's just a fun panel. So, and I probably will just go ahead and cut that up and make them like the center of a star block or something and put it back together, because isn't that what quilting is all about? Cutting apart and sewing it back together. It's called Beatitudes, Tidings of Great Joy. J. Wrecker Fish. I love her stuff, so no wonder I was attracted to this. At the end, you will also see a couple of photographs of two projects that I finished tacking the binding down on. My sister contacted me and asked if I had anything available to donate for an auction, that she is part of the AAUW group in Napa County, and they're prepping for a fall auction that's going to happen. And so I completed a French general quilt, tacked the binding. I've been a busy little bee. Just so you know, I haven't been just laying around eating bonbons. But I finished a French general quilt and tacking the binding down for that. And also a table runner. I tacked the binding down on a table runner, and so sent those off. And the person at the post office that was working at the desk, she and I practically sat on the box to get as much air out of it as possible to be able to tape it up and send it off. But it has been sent and quite accomplished that I actually followed through to the end on something. I told you last time that I was almost not going to put, I almost was not going to put a binding on this butterfly. I mean, not a binding, a border on it. And then I realized, oh, no, you're just being lazy. Sometimes, you just want to be done, and no bad juju in a quilt, and no shortcuts, So the fabric came from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it is Garden Grace by Katie Pertit, and I loved it, and I think it'll be perfect because it is for a little girl. I think she will be 7, maybe, by the time this quilt gets to her at Christmas. But the border fabric I chose was in the same line as the fabric, but it had all that botanical writing on it, and I somehow I just could see her looking at her quilt and reading some of the things. And so there, just to give you a little peek, is the border fabric, and it is, yes, it was perfect. I listened to you guys. Some of you said, nah, needs a border, and that was a good decision. It was a good decision. This Wednesday is, it's called Woolly Wednesday, although it's called Woolly Wednesday, but we don't just do wool. Sometimes we do embroidery, Seuss bargaining, and I am going to this Wednesday be giving a little tutorial to my girlfriend who's meeting me there on how I do hexies. And so I've got all the scrappy bee fabric that I cut out the squares from, and they're the perfect size for hexies. So I'm going to be taking those with me Wednesday to Pioneer Quilts, and also I am thinking once life slows down a little bit, maybe come September or so, I will be trying to get into the Friday stitch group at Cedar Ridge Quilts because they have a Friday stitch group. And I don't know, stitching with other quilters it's lovely. It's just lovely. I just need to get all of these tumbling blocks that are laying all over here sewn together so that this space is opened. It's been quite a mess because not only am I creating my mess, but I had two girlfriends here who were digging through things. And yes, reality is a cruel mistress. Yeah. Is that the way that goes? I don't know. So I'm going to use these bee fabrics for some hexies. So I will take a whole hexie quilt to Pioneer on Wednesday. Okay, so now we are down to two questions, two things that you need to answer in the comments. And one is, do you want a tutorial on how to make these coasters? Because I will have G help me set that all up, and I will do that next time. And if you are interested in the $50 gift card from the I almost said quack, Quackers. I'm kind of tired. Anyhow, if you would like a $50 gift card from the Fat Quarter Shop, three things you must do. One is hit the subscribe button. Two is sign up for the Fat Quarter newsletter. Three is in the comments, say that you want the Fat Quarter, because no reason for me to send it to someone who doesn't really want it. And yeah, maybe somebody doesn't like to shop online. Anyhow, say in the comments that you would like be in the running for the Fat Quarter Shop. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is to go check out A Maker's Life. That is a new channel started by Cheryl, who is a quilter, a cross-stitcher, a baker, a canner, a chicken roundup mom, a dog mom, and takes care of Ed. So if you want to have a good time, go check out A Maker's Life. Okay, thank you for hanging in there for this tired jibber jabber, but you know I love you guys.